Ferrari ran with Lewis Hamilton yesterday morning at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona, following a program largely similar to what was started on Tuesday afternoon. Still driving the SF23 single-seater, the Brit continued his personal learning curve with the Prancing Horse. A lot of work focused on handling, supported by prior experience in the Maranello simulator. The car's setup was adjusted multiple times, an interesting approach to understanding the car's limits and testing the driver's response to various modifications. An evaluation of the hybrid system's overboost management was also conducted. As we know, Ferrari uses a special mapping called K2, typically activated at race starts or after a restart following a double yellow flag with the safety car on track. This mode allows the Maranello team to manage how the energy recovered from the motor generators is distributed alongside the internal combustion engine's power. This procedure is not standardized, as it is adjusted based on the track layout where the car is competing. Generally, this extra energy is used for about a quarter of a lap before switching back to the standard race mode. Lewis Hamilton familiarized himself with this crucial aspect, where the driver plays a significant role in choosing the energy deployment percentage. This is usually practiced in the first free practice sessions of a race weekend. The same applies to K1 and K1 Plus modes, where the driver's input is key in providing feedback to the pit wall and validating or adjusting pre-selected setups tested in the simulator. Towards the end of what seemed to be his final stint of the day, Lewis Hamilton had his first crash while driving the Ferrari. Fortunately, according to the stewards, it was a minor incident. Based on information gathered and reported by the Italian media, car number 44 lost rear grip in the third sector of the Catalan circuit. The Briton tried to regain control but was unable to avoid contact. While not severe, the impact still caused some damage to the Italian car. Nothing irreparable, fortunately. Lewis Hamilton is fine, with no consequences from the incident. He was reportedly quite disappointed for two reasons. First, he had to cut his test short. Second, the British driver felt bad for his teammate, as the two Ferrari drivers are sharing the only available car in Barcelona. However, Ferrari mechanics are already working to restore the car and adjust it for Charles Leclerc, changing the seat, pedal measurements, and part of the setup. Despite the delay in the schedule, Charles Leclerc should still be able to complete his test program next week at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona. Today, however, Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc are not driving the Ferrari. Instead, Italian Antonio Giovinazzi and Swedish Academy driver Dino Beganovic are expected to take the wheel. The Italian team has chosen to save the final test day for their main drivers, intending to use it later under different conditions, confident they have gathered sufficient data. Scuderia Ferrari has therefore putting in the work at the Circuit de Catalunya in Barcelona with Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. On Tuesday, on the first day of this three-day session at the beautiful Maranello circuit, the Scuderia's drivers took turns behind the wheel of the SF23. The Prancing Horse booked the Spanish track to take advantage of TPC sessions, tests regulated by the International Federation, where several rules must be followed. These concern the car to be used, the software, the tires supplied specifically by Pirelli, and the limited mileage. In this context, we cannot simply talk about mere training. It would be far too reductive. Without a doubt, the restrictions imposed by the FIA make the job of an F1 team considerably more complicated. That is true. Nevertheless, there are various factors that can be examined and, as such, prove very useful for the cause. On Tuesday morning, Charles Leclerc focused part of his session on studying the tires. We covered this topic in detail in a dedicated video because, although the tires are different, some insights can still be drawn. Moreover, there was a comparison regarding data collection with the simulator, a crucial tool in modern F1 for assessing the accuracy of its correlation with real-world conditions. This was part of the work carried out by the Monegasque, who also regained some of the confidence lost over the past months in on-track action. A very useful training session in several respects, as he prepares for the true debut at the Bahrain pre-season tests, where the new car will be unveiled, hopefully showcasing its excellent fundamental characteristics in the Middle East. The situation was slightly different for the seven-time F1 world champion. The driver from Stevenage is a veteran of the sport's top category, with 2 decades of experience in single-seaters. However, he can still be considered a rookie when it comes to his knowledge of Ferrari, both in terms of its cars and the unique approach of the historic Italian team. Therefore, he needs to go through a learning curve that will provide him with the foundation to compete with the Scuderia. Lewis Hamilton is fully committed to this process. On Tuesday afternoon during Ferrari's second session, it was his turn to take to the track. The British driver completed multiple runs, always at the wheel of the SF23. According to information gathered by the Italian media, Lewis Hamilton's baseline setup differed slightly from Leclerc's. The overall downforce level was the same, but distributed differently. Hamilton's driving style is not a copy and paste of Charles Leclerc's. There are similarities, sure, but some aspects are distinctly different between the two. First of all, the British driver's handling is very smooth, resembling that of former Ferrari driver Carlos Sainz. The former Mercedes driver also prefers a very stable rear end, whereas the Monegasque, on several occasions, has shown he can manage a more nervous rear if the benefits outweigh the downsides. During his laps, in addition to simulating a typical race weekend work program, Lewis Hamilton paid particular attention to braking phases. He specifically focused on trail braking, a necessary technique used by all Formula One drivers. In the case of the British driver, it was important to deepen his initial approach to Brembo brakes. This involves a precise braking technique, applying heavy pressure on the pedal before gradually releasing it as the car enters the corner. At the same time, Hamilton studied the trailing throttle to further stabilize the car with a slight amount of throttle open. Charles Leclerc is a true master of this technique, frequently using it in many qualifying sessions last season. Weight distribution in corners is crucial and was part of Lewis Hamilton's training. The 7-time Formula One world champion also worked on the car's setup and practice starts. The start system is different from Mercedes, with the distinct use of the paddles located at the rear of the steering wheel. Additionally, he trained on the various power unit modes, including engine mapping for the internal combustion engine and the hybrid system of Ferrari's power unit, designated 06612. At the end of his second day driving a Ferrari, Hamilton was once again satisfied. The feedback provided to the team was highly positive as he looks forward to testing the SF24 next week, followed by runs with the latest piece of aeromechanical engineering from the Maranello squad. The full trackside team was not present, but remote support from Maranello was available. Lewis Hamilton is poised to be back driving a Ferrari car next week, again in Barcelona for a 2-day Pirelli tire test. As reported by the Italian media, the 7-time F1 world champion's Ferrari debut last week was hampered by pedal issues. It has been suggested that the Brit had to try various adjustments to the pedals throughout the test without finding a solution, which led to him making a couple of mistakes. The report then claimed that Hamilton locked up at the first corner and the hairpin, which meant he was close to running into the runoff area. As a result, it has been said that Ferrari are now expected to resolve the issue before the Maranello team's second testing session at the Circuit de Catalunya, which is scheduled to take place next week.